Successful strikes on Iran's nuclear sites, cooling inflation, and some major Supreme Court victories. It's no wonder why Republicans are loving what they're seeing from President Trump's second term.
63% of Republicans strongly approve of the job that Donald Trump is doing about 5 months into his presidency. Republicans love Donald Trump the way that Americans love Disney World. He is more beloved by this Republican base than any Republican base loved any GOP president 5 months in. It is history making.
And if you're tired of all the winning, gas prices are the lowest they've been since 2021, and Waffle House has ditched their egg surcharge. That's one thing about the president, Greg. He gives his people tangibles.
Yeah, well, he makes promises, then surprise, he fulfills them. He is the most consequential political phenomenon in my lifetime, and I'm 38. He reinvented politics, and here's how he did it. He didn't join the Republican Party so he could be more like them. He joined the party so the party would be more like him. And that's what made him a true leader and made him, it's a great example of how to live your life. I mean, seriously, he did more in a week than Biden did in his 50 years. Because Biden was never interested in doing anything except having the job. But it's not just how good he is, it's how bad the Dems are by comparison. It amplifies the contrast. Look at each party. Trump represents the Republican Party. He's a real estate tycoon, a billionaire, successful TV show host, what Tom Wolfe would call a master of the universe. What is the Dems' most charismatic leader right now, their new Obama? A communist running for mayor in New York City. The most radical guy in the party who wants to control the means of production. That's insane. But we were told that the Democrat Party was going to change, that they were going to realize, no, we've gone way off the deep end. We're not woke anymore. We're going to come back to the middle. No. And that's what they do. It's incredible.
Dana, I think sometimes the left believes their lies, and one of the lies they always tell is that he's an extremist in the sense of he's an ideologue, but he's not. That is their opening to get something done.
So President Trump has been blessed with the worst opposition in American history. And they are just terrible. Think of all the money, the rallies that they have done, the ads they've spent, the humiliation of doing these selfie videos, and remember the tiny microphones. Like all of this money, only to realize that every investment that Democrats have made has made President Trump stronger. And also contrast the tangibles. What did President Biden promise his people? He said something that was not constitutional. Even Nancy Pelosi said it wasn't constitutional. He said, I am going to forgive your student loans. And it never happened. He said, we're going to bring inflation down. That never happened. He said that we are going to accelerate the electric vehicle market. They put in 3 chargers for like $1 gazillion. None of the tangibles that they promised came through. So their voters were already demoralized. They could see with their own eyes that he wasn't capable of being president for another 4 years. They had a lackluster candidate when they did the switcheroo with Kamala Harris. And now they're still stuck in the doldrums dealing with the Biden cognitive decline cover-up.
Joey, don't you think that the president, he reshaped the Republican Party? All the people that Joe Biden promised to serve, you know, moderate Joe, working class Joe, trained Joe, he took all those people while riding on first class, his own jet, and being flashy.
Yeah, and apparently he can't be quiet in a quiet car, old Joe. No, you're right. Trump threw a bigger tent than we've seen in a long time. You know, you go back and you go through the last few cycles. So you have Bush Republicans coming in, and he comes in with this idea of amnesty. So it's reaching across the aisle a little bit. And then 9/11 happens, and we go through the years of the Bush presidency, which was not his agenda because he was dealing with the war on terror the whole time. Then you have Obama come in, and it's like, you know, he adhered himself to these radical ideas so much so that even when he realized they didn't work, he couldn't just veer away from them. So when President Trump came in, the economy wasn't broken. The country wasn't broken. They were held back. It felt held back. So you just needed to release some things. You needed to get the government out of the way and let Americans do what they were fighting and ready to do. And that's what we saw for the majority of his presidency. Then COVID happens. And to think that he's a man who's gone through COVID, who's gone through impeachments, who's gone through the court cases, who's gone through being arrested, who's gone through January 6th, and a lot of people did fall on the side of that was repulsive to them. And to think that he can go through all of that.
He got shot,
An assassination attempt.
I'm not there yet. Go through all of that and still decide to run again. He could have sailed off into the sunset and made another $1 billion, and he chose to come back. And when he chose to come back, he was going to come back on his terms, doing what he wanted to accomplish. There's nothing for re-election for him. He hasn't appointed J.D. Vance the heir apparent. He said that we'll see what happens next. I don't think he cares near as much about being a kingmaker as he does about getting some things done that he wanted to get done. I don't know where his weaknesses and vulnerabilities are for Democrats to attack, and they would be smart to take the Fetterman line of approach. But then, if they were smart, maybe they wouldn't be.
Exactly.
You know, Emily, the Republican Party used to be the party of policy papers. And Trump is like Nike. Just do it. They ask him a question. Okay, how do you fix the trans thing in sports thing? Get him out of school. He goes, you're president. You just do it.
Yes.
Right. And I think that's partly why people initially in the party were turned off by him. No, this is how we have to do it and lay it out. But the reality is he's getting it done. So no one should care how it happens, because the courts have proven over and over again, the Supreme Court, that it's constitutional and it's correct. It's within his authority, and therefore we should champion it. You know, everyone before him, they were always working inside the box. This is my lane, and this is how we're going to fix it. But he came in and just obliterated the box. And Democrats tried to paint him as this golden spooned boy, but the reality is that he's the hardest worker of anyone we know. And when he was withstanding the relentless attacks, lawfare and assassination attempts and everything, at every single turn, he said, they're doing it to me, and it's going to be you who's next. Like, this was a person who sort of has this hybrid of giving no cares more than anyone I've ever heard of, while also caring more than anyone we've ever heard of. And it's history in the making, and I'm so grateful that in this moment we can recognize that. And remember, the primary...
The historians won't.
No.
But we are. And the number one, remember, I'll always repeat this, the number one reason that people voted for him in the Iowa primaries, remember, it was because he fights for people like me. And that's what he's doing.
So true. All right.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.